The first thing I remembered after the crash was silence, an unnatural silence that hung over the alien jungle like a warning. The exploration shuttle Odyssey 14 had been ripped apart during entry, and I, Lieutenant Ethan Ward, was the only survivor. Smoke curled from the wreckage as I staggered out, my head pounding and my arm bleeding. Earth Command would assume I was dead. My emergency beacon was destroyed. I had no way home. I grabbed what supplies I could from the debris and forced myself forward. Vines glowed faintly, strange birds howled from unseen perches, and the massive trees shimmered with bioluminescent veins. Everything was alive here, and everything felt aware. By nightfall, I found a clearing and built a fire. That was my first mistake. A deep rumble echoed from the shadows. Shapes emerged, tall, armored, and inhuman. 8-foot giants with silver skin and eyes like molten gold. They surrounded me, and one raised a spear to my throat. I raised my hand slowly. "I'm not your enemy." They didn't understand my words, but they understood one thing. I was not of their world. The leader stepped forward, her armor smooth and black with gold line work. She was taller than the others, her bearing regal and commanding. A crown of organic crystalline structure encircled her brow. Her gaze locked with mine, and something ancient and powerful stirred in the air. She touched my face just once. My vision exploded into light. Memories that were not mine poured into my thoughts: wars, coronations, alien languages, genetic heritage. When the surge ended, I collapsed to my knees, gasping. She spoke, and I understood. "Human, you belong to me now." I had no idea how, but the touch had given me access to their language. I stammered, fighting the dizziness. "Who are you?" She lifted her chin proudly. "Queen Azaria of the Zyra Dominion. You crossed into my territory. By ancient law, I claim you." Her warriors bound my hands and marched me across the glowing forest to a vast citadel of carved stone and shimmering metal. Towering structures spiraled upward like living sculpture. Strange creatures flew overhead, and everywhere, citizens dropped to their knees as the queen passed. I was taken deep inside the palace, but not to a dungeon. Instead, I found myself in a throne hall where the walls pulsed like veins of living crystal. The guards shoved me to my knees before her throne. Azaria studied me with a curious intensity. "Your vessel fell from the heavens. You are not of this world." I crashed. "I'm stranded. I just want to go home." She tilted her head, almost amused. "You have no home anymore. I have a family, a life. You can't." "I can," she said confidently. "By the ancient rights of claim, you belong to me until death." I clenched my fists. "Why me?" She stood, descending the steps. "Because when I touched you, I felt something I have never felt. Resonance. Our energy aligned. It is a bond that only forms between perfect genetic matches. And such a match is rarer than stardust." Her eyes bore into mine. "You are mine." Days passed in the palace, and I wasn't a prisoner. Not exactly. I was guarded everywhere I went, but I was given luxurious quarters, robes, and food unlike anything I had tasted. The Zyra were not cruel. Their empire operated on rigid honor and ancient rituals. Azaria visited often, not as a captor, but as someone trying to understand me. We spoke endlessly about war, history, science, and culture. I learned that their species had long believed humans were extinct remnants of a forgotten branch of their evolutionary ancestry. To her people, my existence was both sacred and political. "Your arrival is a prophecy fulfilled," she said one evening as we walked through a garden of floating lotus-shaped lanterns. "A human reborn to stand by the throne." I shook my head. "I'm just a pilot." I didn't come here to become a king. You would not be a puppet, she said softly. You would rule beside me. Her tone was not dominating this time. It was vulnerable. Azaria, I said quietly. I can't give up my world. She froze, pain flashing across her face. You think I do not understand loss? I was crowned after watching my father die in my arms. I lost my mate in battle. I know what it means to be alone in the universe. Silence hung between us. Finally, she whispered, I do not want to cage you, Ethan. But fate has bound us. And fate is not something I can ignore. The turning point came when rebels stormed the palace. They detonated charges that shook the walls and sent guards flying. Blaster fire echoed through the corridors as I hid behind a pillar. A figure seized me, one of the rebels. You're the human, right? Come with us if you want to be free. This was my chance. Freedom. Escape. A way back to Earth. But then I heard Azaria scream. The rebels were cutting through the throne room doors. I could run. I could save myself. I could go home. And yet, I couldn't ignore what she had done for me. She had given me protection, dignity, and honesty. She never hurt me. She only wanted me near her, not under her heel. I made my choice. I sprinted toward the throne room. The rebels had the queen pinned. A blade pressed to her throat. Without thinking, I tackled the attacker. His knife slashed my shoulder, but adrenaline powered me through. I grabbed a fallen spear and fought with every ounce of training the military ever gave me. When the last rebel fell, I collapsed beside her. Azaria tore a strip from her royal cloak and wrapped my wound with shaking hands. Why? She whispered. You could have escaped. I managed a weak smile. Because I don't abandon people who care about me. She held my face, nothing possessive now. Only gratitude. I will never forget this. Months passed. I helped rebuild. I studied. I trained with her warriors and learned their technology. Azaria and I became equals, not by force, but by experience. She never treated me like property again. She treated me like someone she respected. Finally, she took my hands before the Council of Houses. Ethan, Ward of Earth, she declared, her voice echoing across the grand chamber. I release you from the ancient claim. You are free to leave this world forever if that is your choice. A hush swept the hall. I could leave. I could go home. But as I looked at her, strong, determined, proud, and yet afraid of my answer, I realized something. Home wasn't a planet. Home was where I decided to stand. With her. I stepped forward, speaking clearly. Queen Azaria, I choose to stay. Not because of your claim, but because I want to. Emotion shook her gaze. The chamber erupted in applause as she kissed my hand and pressed her forehead to mine, the Chiron symbol of unity, not possession. From that day forward, they no longer called me the claimed human. They called me King Consort of Zyra, not because I was taken, but because I chose to stay.